Welcome to Real Estate Radio Live, an informative and engaging podcast discussing everything you need to know about the world of real estate. Your host, 𝗘𝗀𝗓𝗏, provides you with insight and guidance on how to buy, sell, finance, and invest in real estate. He also offers real estate tax management strategies, new construction advice, home improvement tips, and much, much more. And now, to guide you around the world of real estate, here's your host and Real Estate Radio Live team leader, 𝗘𝗀𝗓𝗏.
Welcome in. This is 𝗘𝗀𝗓𝗏 with Real Estate Radio Live and the podcast series, sitting alongside 𝗥𝗲𝗋𝗡𝗡, as we will every Tuesday. And before we get started here, a couple different things to talk about today. But remember, if you have any real estate needs, buying, selling, consultation, anything at all, be sure to contact 𝗥𝗲𝗋𝗡𝗡 at area code 408-630-0101 or 𝗥𝗲𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗓.com. Is that right?
Mike at 𗗥𝗲𝗀𝗓.
Mike at 𗗥𝗲𝗀𝗓.com. There you go. The website, though. Website.
𗗥𝗲𝗀𝗓.com.
Yeah, 𗗥𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗓.com. All right. Mike, good to be back with you again.
You as well. You as well. Happy holidays.
You too.
I hope you guys enjoy the holiday sausage we brought from New York Style Sausage
I can't
Company.
wait.
So,
that's good stuff, by the way. Let's get that plug in there. Also, let's talk real quick before we
if
get to
you're listening on the West Coast.
Yeah.
New York Style Sausage Company made
Mike
fresh
has
daily.
some connections.
There we
by
go.
the way.
Yeah, I got to cook. And
they're legitimate.
They are legitimate
okay, just want to make
connections.
sure.
Yeah.
All right.
And anyone listening, if you cross me the wrong way, don't worry. You're not going to end up in the meat grinder.
Or wake up with a horse's
head. You're going to be fine. Well, I mean, what are we doing over here?
Yeah. Those are incredible sausages, by the way. And your dad's place, too. Give a plug for your dad's place.
Yeah, there we go. Giorgio's Italian Food and Pizzeria, and Frankie John and Luigi's, too. So we love representing them and go in during the holidays.
Yeah, no, it's and it's good to talk about food. Here we are in the holidays, coming to the Christmas season, right? And I'm thinking about some of that sausage bread, which is my favorite.
Yeah. And then on Christmas Eve, you always do the 𝗔𝗕𝗎 Fest, right?
That's right. But I don't want anybody coming to that.
Yeah.
So if you're listening to the show...
Tell us about that, though. How long... So you start that how many days ahead of time?
2 days.
2 days.
2 days before we serve it. And it's 12 to 15 gallons of 𝗔𝗕𝗎.
Wow. It's a lot of 𝗔𝗕𝗎.
We invite quite a few people. For purposes of disclosure, I'm not going to give out my address here on this podcast. But, Mike, you know where I live.
Yes,
so you
I
could
do.
come by. All my friends could come by. Actually, if you like 𝗔𝗕𝗎, seriously, and you like the show, give us a good review. Right?
Yeah, there you go.
I got a deal here. Give us a good review on the podcast. I just thought of something.
Yeah.
Give us a good review and then email me and say, Joe, I gave you guys a killer review.
Yeah.
Can I show up to your 𝗔𝗕𝗎 party?
Oh, wow.
I'm throwing it out there.
There you go. I like it.
And now, listen to me, if I get 25 or 30 people, that's okay. And it would actually be kind of cool to get to meet some of these people.
Yeah, we have before at the live events.
Yeah, no, it's been fun.
Listeners come out.
So I can't believe I just did that. But I'll say it again. If you're listening to this podcast, go on to iTunes or from our website, give Mike and I a great review. It's got to be an unbelievable
And
review,
I'll add on to that. If you do that, I'll have a New York style sausage. I'll bring it to your house, and they get a pack. They get a pack of that too.
Oh my God!
There we go.
So you're going to get 𝗔𝗕𝗎. This is like a live auction via RE Radio Live podcast series. So you're going to get. Listen to this now. I want to make sure I got this right. 2 Italian dudes, and we're not even drinking. So here's the deal. You go on and give us a review. All right. Mike and I give us a good review. Email us. Tell us, hey, I just gave you guys a great review. We're going to invite you to the 𝗔𝗕𝗎 party on Christmas Eve, 2 to 9. Show up when you can. And Mike is going to give you what? What are you going to give this people?
Holiday sausage. A package of New York style holiday sausage.
Look at that.
There you go.
So what we'll do is...
and free hugs.
And free hugs. That's right. Those are always free. You can hug anytime. And what we'll do is let's do this over the next. What do we got? 2 more shows?
Yeah, we got
Christmas?
a couple shows. I like it. Let's do it.
Yeah, and then after Christmas, we'll talk about the results.
All right. Sounds good.
All right.
All right. Well, that's all we got time for today.
Grab your bibs.
All right. So what are we actually going to talk about today?
Let's talk about real estate.
Yeah, let's do that.
Talk about some real estate and mortgage. It's not going to be as fun as food, but we're going to get through this. A lot of fun stuff and in the spirit for sure. So a couple things Mike and I are going to talk about today. Buying and selling now. I'm going to ask Mike a little bit about the pros and cons. I know a lot of you see newspaper articles or people always say don't buy or sell during the holidays. Mike's going to talk about why you should or why you shouldn't, or why some of the people, one way or another, the pros and cons. We're going to talk about rates a little bit, and also why it's not too late. A lot of people, Mike, are thinking, since the interest rates went up here quite a bit,
right?
Did I miss the opportunity? And I would say absolutely not, depending if you have a home equity line, maybe you have some credit card debt, maybe you want to do something, pay off some debt that's high interest and non-tax deductible. There could be a reason why.
Would student loans fall into that category, or can you even refi those? Those like kind of on their own little island?
Well, you can. Most of them, actually I shouldn't say, most of them used to be really good interest rates, like 2-3% range.
Yeah.
But I'm seeing a lot of them now are like a 5, 6, 7%.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, it still may be worth it. I don't know, but there's some things we'll discuss.
Let's talk about that definitely.
And then we're going to talk a little bit about. I know there's some people, no matter what, they're just busy lives, so they're not going to buy or sell during the holidays, Mike. So I'm going to ask you. We'll talk a little bit about seeing they're gonna buy or sell, let's say in the first quarter of 17. What are some of the things you're going to suggest they prepare for before they contact you?
Absolutely.
How do they prepare their home? Should be doing some painting, landscaping? What types of things they're going to be doing? So let's start. Let me talk about right now, Mike. Here we are, a couple weeks from Christmas, and usually conventional wisdom, the media, everybody else says, it's not a good time to buy, it's not a good time to sell, and they'll list the reasons why people check out emotionally. There's all the reasons why, historical speaking, you would say that. But I think times have changed, and I think it just depends on who the person is and what their timing is. So what are your thoughts? What are the pros and cons of right now, a couple weeks from Christmas? I know it's an important holiday for a lot of people. I'm not diminishing that.
Yeah.
But what are the pros and cons of waiting, and why should someone move right now if it's important to them?
Yeah, I think overall, I'm going to be honest. I think that it's better as a buyer during the holidays than a seller.
Okay.
Than a seller. I mean, some people might say differently, but in my opinion, if I was sitting there thinking about selling my house, it's probably the thought is not very attractive during the holidays when you have people coming over, you're having parties, your house is decorated. You don't want it to get screwed up, that type of thing. I think as a buyer, it's more advantageous than as a seller. And let me tell you why. So number one is, the downside from a buyer's perspective is there's going to be fewer homes for sale, so there's going to be less to look at.
Okay.
But the upside to that is there's less competition, so most people go dormant during the holidays, which is, understandable. But most of the buyers are going to, go on the sidelines during the holidays. They're busy. They don't really feel like looking at property, that type of thing. They might be out of town. So from a buyer's perspective, there's going to be less competition on property. So if there's a one hot listing that typically during spring selling season might procure a lot of buyers, maybe this time only a couple people are looking at it, frankly, because there isn't really, a lot of people looking at it. The other upside is on top of that, because there might be less competition, you might be able to negotiate more favorable terms. Sellers are going to be more motivated probably if there's less people looking at their house. So you might be able to come in and negotiate a better deal during the holidays. The other couple other side issues, and doesn't really pertain to California, but across the country, and I know we have a lot of people that listen, not only across the country but across the world, is seasonal problems. We think it's a bad time to buy or sell in the holidays because we have a little bit of rain. Well, imagine if you're, I don't know, in Cleveland or Pittsburgh or something, and there's 10 feet of snow. Do you think a lot of people are going to be looking at property during that time? The real estate business pretty much goes dormant from during the snowy season. I mean, how are you going to have open houses, showings, driving buyers around?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a pain in the you-know-what to sell real estate in those states. So it doesn't really pertain to California unless you're really kind of a wuss and you don't want to go look at property when it's windy and rainy outside. But seasonal issues can become an issue. The other problem could be is some realtors just don't work during the holidays. That's not me, but a lot of people again go dormant.
Take time off.
And take time off. The other thing is, from a buyer's perspective, is potential tax advantages. A lot of people want to buy homes, especially maybe or sell homes during the holidays for tax purposes before the end of the year. And I guess the warm fuzzy feeling of all this is one upside for buying a home is you have a new home for the holidays.
It's true.
So that is on the buy side. What do you think about that?
No, I think it's good. I think it's right. I would agree with you that either one of them, I think it's a little bit easier on the buyer.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, we're just assuming, but it is true. I mean, a lot of people are traveling or they have family things going on during the holidays and Christmas coming, and it is more difficult. And that's absolutely. Now, what about, what I just thought about as we're talking about, maybe this would be too much, too. What if a person said, I really want to sell my house, Mike, but I can't handle this during Christmas and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But they'd say, what about coming soon or sign, but no activity till January. Has anybody ever done that?
Yeah, absolutely. We can always do that. Okay. I think it's good, especially if you're thinking about selling in the beginning of the year, it's good to start talking to your real estate professional sooner than later. So that would be the first step. So let's talk about that for a minute. Get in touch with your real estate professional, talk to them, have them walk through the house, go through the whole marketing plan. What is it going to look like? What are going to be the timelines? And then I think the main thing with all that is, they're going to give you a list of things to maybe start working on to prep your home. And in the meantime, they can throw out a sign and start possibly taking some interest off market. And, when the time's ready, you can start showing it. But we can even get into a little bit more of that. I think we got to take a quick break here.
Yeah.
But we can expand on that a little bit after we talk rates and whatnot too.
Sounds good. Yeah, we're going to take a quick break and come back. We're going to continue the conversation here with Mike about next year. What do people need to do preparing their homes? We're going to talk about rates a little bit, and also, are the rates gone up a little bit too high to do anything? I'll say no. There's some great reasons why you still should refinance. All right, we'll be back in a couple of minutes. Just remember, if you need any help, support, any information on buying and selling, contact Mike at area code 408-630-0101. If you need any financing for purchases, refinancing, you can reach me at 408-838-9060, and you can reach Mike and I both at 𝗓𝗡radiolive.com. We'll be back with you in just a couple of minutes.
For more information on today's program, visit 𝗓𝗡radiolive.com. That's 𝗓𝗡radiolive.com.
Hi, this is 𝗘𝗀𝗁 of Real Estate Radio Live. Thanks for tuning into our podcast. We are your go-to resource for all aspects of real estate, including buying, selling, refinancing, building, and legal and tax advice, and much more. You can subscribe to Real Estate Radio Live podcast on iTunes and Stitcher to listen to an engaging discussion about anything and everything real estate. So make sure you get our app, RE Radio Live, in the iTunes store to follow the show.
Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Live. For more information on today's topic or guests, just visit 𝗓𝗡radiolive.com. That's 𝗓𝗡radiolive.com. Again, your host for today's edition of Real Estate Radio Live, 𝗘𝗀𝗁.
Welcome back, 𝗘𝗀𝗁 with Real Estate Radio Live, the podcast series. Sitting alongside here with Mike D'Ambrosio. We are talking about buying and selling during the holidays. We're going to get in a little bit on some interest rates and why you still might want to refinance, believe it or not. And much more. Before we do that, just a reminder, if you weren't tuning in or listening to the first part of the podcast, Mike and I have threw out there a spontaneous invitation, and it will go as follows. if you go to iTunes or our website and you give us a great review, it's got to be a good review, too. It can't be this, I like the show. It's got to be a good one. I am going to invite you to the 𝗔𝗕𝗄 party I'm having on Christmas Eve night. Come by, say hi, have some 𝗔𝗕𝗄. Even if you don't like seafood, come on by, say hi. Doesn't matter. Have some wine, bread, it's all good. And then Mike jumped in, and Mike said, I'm going to one-up you. Mike says, if you show up to the 𝗔𝗕𝗄 party, I'm going to have New York sausage available for you, right?
And free hugs.
And free hugs. Yeah. So there you go. Imagine that. So that is the trifecta when you think about it. Right? You got the 𝗔𝗕𝗄, the Italian sausage, and then you got the Italian dude hugging you.
That's right.
What else?
Well, see, I don't know about I don't know if it's one up because they actually have to cook the sausage when they go home. Point. So you have it all prepared. So you might be in the driver's seat there. So but either way, I think it's a hell of a deal.
But it's a great offer. We're having some fun, but at the same time, we are serious. The podcast is doing great. We're getting growing by leaps and bounds, but we need your help and enjoy hearing what you guys have to say. So give us a review. Email me or Mike and say, hey, I gave you guys a review, and we'll give you the invitation information to show up, have a little 𝗔𝗕𝗄, some sausage, and those hugs at the same time.
Love it. Also, reach out to us, too, about topics. That's a good point. A lot of times we talk about things that we hear from listeners all the time, and the reason why we do some shows that we do is because of you guys. Right. So don't hesitate to do that. Shoot us an email, call me, text me, or Joe, and we're happy to talk about that.
Very good. So, all right, once again, real quick before we jump back into the topics, if you need any information, support, buying, selling your home, real estate in general, be sure to contact Mike at 408-630-0101. If you need any help on the financing side, purchase, refinance, structuring it any way at all, give me a call at 408-838-9060, and you can reach Mike and I both if you go to 𝗪𝗡radiolive.com. All right, let's chat a little bit about rates going up and how that might affect people.
So what do you think? I mean, we've seen rates go up over the last since the election.
Right.
Basically half a point, maybe 5/8.
Right.
So talk about that and what your thoughts are and where that might be going and how that's gonna. Is it did people miss the boat? What are we looking at here, Joe?
Well, if you, I wouldn't say you missed the boat, but the good thing is I feel great about this show. One of the reasons I enjoy this, I know you do, Mike, is that we educate and we inform, and we've been telling people for the last year or so, take advantage of the rates, whether it's buying or selling a home.
Yeah.
Jump in, do it now. I'm just telling people refinance, secure that low cost of money. And so we've done our job. Thousands of people have taken advantage of it that we work with, and that's wonderful. So, to answer your question, rates are up a little bit, but historically speaking, they're still very low. We're still, so 30-year money is around 4% or so, maybe a little bit more. You could still get adjustable interest rates in the 3%. So it's still pretty good. However, the things, Mike, that I would really kind of throw a flag up and have people look at is, even if the rates are a little bit higher, let's say you've locked in a good 30-year fix at 3 3/8 or 3 3/4. It's below 4, and it's pretty good. You're feeling good about it. But since you've done that, maybe you took a $200,000 equity line out and you added on, right, new bathroom, kitchen, or maybe some square footage, or maybe you paid off some student
Hopefully
loans.
You did it with permits.
Yeah, yes, that's right. Or, the thing that comes up, again, it's a reality. I know a lot of people feel bad about it and they don't like to talk about it, but everybody does things, makes mistakes, reacts to certain things. But, from time to time, someone will run up credit cards.
Yeah.
It happens to everybody.
Yeah, it does.
I remember I was early on in my age. I got my first couple of credit cards. I go, oh, man, this is great. I can just go and charge. And I go, oh, you got to pay it back?
Yeah.
And by the way, the minimum payment, you never pay it off? That's right. Yeah. So anyway, my point is, if you're out there, you're listening, and maybe you've, you got some credit card debt, 25, 30, 40 grand, 12, 14, 15% interest. Those are tough.
Absolutely.
Because you literally have to make monster payments to make any kind of dent in interest rates like that.
Right.
On those credit cards. And, by the way, that's not tax deductible. So to answer your question, Mike, if you have a outstanding equity line or a second or third on your property, regardless, I think now is still a great time to look at consolidating them and refinancing.
So you're saying putting that into a into the mortgage, or having another additional second, or
No, I'm saying consolidate the first and second.
Okay.
And the reason why is a couple of reasons. The equity line, even if it's 4.5% or 5% interest only, yeah, your payments look low, but they're false payments. And here's the big really issue that people are going to be faced with. The home equity line of credits are fixed for 10 years. So amortized for 30, fixed for 10. And a lot of people don't know this, but you'll get a notification from your lender, usually about 6 months, 8 months before it adjusts. And it'll go something like this, and it's enough to scare you.
Yeah.
Let's say you have $200,000 and the minimum payment's, I don't know, $400 a month, $300, maybe lower. And then you'll get a statement in the mail that says, guess what, in 6 months, this is due to recast. It'll tell you the estimated payment will go from $300 a month to $900 a month. And it will.
It will, yeah.
And so the reason why it goes up so high is because it recasts from 30-year to a 20-year, 23-year amortized loan, and then you're paying a principal and interest payment, not just an interest only.
Yeah.
So what I encourage people to do is understand where you are with your equity lines, and if you're a year or so away from that recast, that would be another reason I would say, even if you have a good interest rate on your first right now, I would encourage you, believe it or not, I could run the numbers for people. I'll bet you if you looked at a sizable equity line, and let's say you had your first currently at 3 3/4 or 3 3/8, and now your complete consolidation maybe at 4% or 4 1/8, I bet you're still better off than waiting for that loan to recast on the second.
Absolutely.
If it's cash flow and it's the monthly payment you're worried about, and on top of that, we all know the rates have gone up for sure, but most likely the Fed meets, I think next week, matter of fact, and the talk is she's going to raise the prime, and the prime affects home equity lines, and credit cards. Yeah, definitely. So another reason so there's still some things. Student loans we talked a little bit about. And the last thing I'll say, again, the cost of money, we get so spoiled with that money, but if you always wanted that kitchen or the extra 1,000 square feet, the remodel, the bathroom, whatever, it's still a great time to do it.
Yeah, and if you have the equity to do it too.
Right.
So are you saying, like, if someone has, let's say they have a $1 million home, and maybe they currently owe $500,000 on it, and maybe they have a $100,000 second or a HELOC. Right. You saying it's a better idea to combine that into a first mortgage, or are you thinking, what would you recommend to some? Because I know there's a lot of people out there that probably have a sizable first, and then maybe they have a second or a HELOC. So at this moment in time, what do you think is probably the best idea?
Well, everybody's different. I'll say that because everybody's situated. I would say call, let's talk about it. I would never say one thing fits for everybody.
Yeah, right.
But I can tell you, as a rule, my philosophy is right now at this given time, if you have the loan to value is good, I would say consolidate the first and second into one loan.
Yeah, okay.
And the reason why, again, is because that second is really a false payment. It's neat while you're paying it, but remember, if you're paying the minimum payment, that's all you're doing. You're not touching the principal.
Yeah.
At one point, you're going to have to touch that principal, and so I would say consolidate it. And guess what? No matter what you use that second for, that's tax deductible.
Yeah.
Right? That's another reason to do it. And the last thing I'll say is that if, for some reason, the only reason, Mike, I would say don't do it, let's say, and some people do this, let's say they have a $50,000 or $100,000 line, and I hear this from time to time, you know what, Joe, I'm coming into a big bonus, or I'm getting some stock selling, and I'm just going to wipe it out. Then I'd say, fine.
Yeah, don't
do it then. Keep your first the way it is. Don't refinance.
Yeah.
If you plan to knock that thing out, then definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The less debt, the better.
Right. All right, we got just a couple minutes left. The last thing I kind of want to wrap up with here, Mike, is to ask you a little bit about, we talked about buying and selling during the holidays. Some people think it's good or not. The question is, now someone that's convinced, I'm going to jump back into the market, or I'm going to sell my house, list my house, let's say in the first quarter of 17.
Right.
What types of things would you encourage them to do to prepare so they're not running around at the last minute saying, I didn't know about that.
Right, exactly. Which happens pretty often, more than you think. But I think, obviously, I mentioned before, is get in touch with your real estate professional first and foremost, especially if you're going to be both buying and selling. because number one, get in touch with your real estate professional and your mortgage professional, because if you're going to be buying something on top of selling, you need to start getting that process started with, okay, how much can I afford? What am I going to get for my house? And what are we looking at? That type of thing. It's always good to start that process. Then, meet with the agent, get a list going of what you might need to do over the next couple weeks, months, in order to prep your home for sale. Typically, at minimum, if the house is pretty lived in, just in general, I don't like, everyone's different, right? But you're looking at some paint, maybe some floor refinishing, new carpet, and some prep of the landscape and that type of, that's like at minimum what I recommend most people. Now, if their house is completely dialed in and, sometimes they don't need to, or if the house is a total, then there might be some more things that I would suggest. So at least give yourself some options in that sense and some time in order to get those things done. Then you're going to want to do some inspections, home, termite, roof, get those going. That way you have that for potential buyers. And also you can use that as a list, laundry list of things that you might have to get done. And, another thing, you can start talking to your tax guy to see what the tax ramifications are going to be in that year that you're going to be selling. And like I said before, if you are selling to buy somewhere, where are you going? And then figuring out those options. Are you going out of state? Are you going within state? How are you going to finance that? So as you can see, it's not just a one-off decision and you're off and running in a week. There's a lot of things that you got to put into place. So if you are one of those people that are first quarter type of people, get it going now. And, if you have a professional that's working during the holidays, hopefully you could set up a time to meet with them and get that process going. So that's kind of a general overview of what we're looking at.
Very good. All right, we're about out of time. Before we do that again, we would encourage you to do us a favor. Go to our website, 𝗟𝗡𝗡𝗘𝗖𝗓.com. Give us a review. Tell us what you think. And also, as Mike mentioned, if you have any ideas for shows, suggestions, things that are on your mind, real estate related, you want us to talk about, be sure to do that. And Mike, before we check out again, for those wanting information, how would they contact you?
You can go to my website, 𝗥𝗲𝗋𝗚.com, or you can email me, mike@𝗟ERadiolive.com.
Very good. And always, you can reach me, 408-838-9060, or go to the website, 𝗟ERadiolive.com. Thanks again for tuning in today. Until next time, take care.
You've been listening to Real Estate Radio Live. For more information on today's program, visit 𝗟ERadiolive.com. That's 𝗟ERadiolive.com. Subscribe to our podcast. Discover more at 𝗟ERadiolive.com.